5 F-word formula. Okay, this is something that I use with my brand called DYNAMO Entrepreneur, which I modeled after Richard Branson's brand, the Virgin. Right, so he has a bunch of different vehicles. He has jets and events, and he has his phones. So I did DYNAMO Entrepreneur that has DYNAMO, a number of different DYNAMO divisions. DYNAMO Publishing, which is my book publishing company. DYNAMO Events. I host the DYNAMO Speaker Talent Search, which is for amateurs to compete against one another. Think about like American Idol, but instead of singing, it's speaking. And I was sharing about Marcos Mendoza with my Argentinian friend earlier, and basically he was down and out, and he was a carpenter at the time, wasn't overly happy, working for his father, wanted to get into hip-hop and potentially inspirational speaking. Got on my stage, didn't bring anyone, okay, it was his father's birthday, so he had nobody in the audience, and it's audience voting. Guys puking in the bathroom before the event. I gave him a little bit of a pep talk. I'm not involved in the judging. The audience has to pick 3 individuals, so in addition to the one that they've come to support, they have to pick 2 others, so it makes it very, very fair, because there's usually about 200 people in the audience. And he won by a landslide victory, because he just put his passion into it, gave it his all. He's like, he was done, he was ready. And he's now, I think it's like 6 years ago now, just got engaged to a really, really beautiful Latino girl. Very happy, rebuilt the relationship with her parents. His father is incredibly proud of him. And don't we all want to have our parents proud of us? I mean, that's one of the biggest missions of our life. I know I do. My dad's 84, so I got a few years left to make it right with him. Right? My mom passed on Mother's Day 5 years ago. My brother, my 50-year-old brother, he passed on New Year's Day 2 years ago. So Christmas season was a little bit tough for me. Had a hard time, so I was getting through that, celebrating life versus looking at it as a loss. And now Marcos, he's basically moved from one day, one instant where he delivered his passion for 3 minutes, and now he's teaching people how to make 6 figures in a year. I mean, that's beautiful, and there's no reason why any of you guys can't do that. If anyone has the desire to become a speaker in any way, shape, or form, it's a very powerful vehicle. It's up there with death and taxes in regards to fear. However, when you actually get up there and pass that first hurdle, you don't want to come down. It's really beautiful, and learning how to connect with absolutely everybody in the room. It's kind of an art form. Make everybody feel inclusive and like they're involved, which I hope I'm doing today. And basically, that instant where you take that 3 minutes and you put all of your energy and passion and practice it like 100 times, go and deliver that and see what happens. What have you got to lose? Wayne Gretzky? You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, right? I am a professional shoot first, aim second guy. Okay, I've failed more than anybody that I know in a hard way. However, the wins are significant. And now I've got 2 wins, one working with at-risk youth. Why is that significant to me? Because I am that kid. You guys are that kid. You're an older version of that kid, right? Think about supporting those kids. When you're supporting those kids with pain or pleasure or service or programming or guidance, at the end of the day, we're guides. We're farmers. We plant seeds, right? We plant those seeds, and compounding energy, it grows. Einstein said the most powerful force in the universe is a compounding one, right? Positive energy, positive energy, positive energy. Those seeds are planted, nurture them, water them, baby them, and they blossom. So now I have one in the crypto space, and I have one in the youth space. And what's beautiful is the youth space is paying for a lot of people's families to live a good life. That's a beautiful thing. Coming from the world that I came from, I don't know the world you guys are coming from. However, that is the possibility. That now happened over 16 years, right? So it can happen much faster now because we do have the internet. We didn't have it back then. We were still playing Space Invaders and Asteroids, right? So remember Asteroids? That was a great game. Galaga. Woo! Yeah, that was the game, right? Which one?
Centipede.
That's right. Centipede, yeah.
I still play Pac-Man.
Pac-Man, right? So, long story short, put yourself out there for a smart move of an awareness attracting. Obviously, if you want to go into the public space or a speaker, I invite you guys to hit me up and learn a little bit more about it. That 3 minutes can change your life like Marcos, okay? He was completely down and out, and that 3 minutes, now he's like 6 years later, and he's living the dream, the Canadian dream. Like, absolutely beautiful. He's in Costa Rica right now, like, celebrating with a group of people. So, long story short, I brought this for you guys, and it's a really neat tool that I use especially for younger kids, but it also works for adults. When I guide, or I don't really like the word teach, because teach is kind of like looking down. Guide is like, hey, look at me, I'm walking the walk. I'm talking the talk, and I'm walking the walk. If you're not walking your talk, I'm not interested in doing business with you. I'm simply not. If you're not moving towards a lane that I'm in, which is youth or crypto, it's okay. I'd rather just focus on my lane. What you're doing is beautiful. What's important is the focus, that I have laser sharp focus on these two lanes. What I've done is I've merged them because my crypto business is buying these 12 ranches across Canada, right? So imagine a field, okay? We start a business, all right? And we get going on it. We get to about the 95% mark, and we got a little bit of gold out of the ground. We're digging. But imagine a field. So you got a hole over there, you got a hole over there, you got a hole over there, hole over there. Anybody start a lot of ideas but never finish them? Yeah, I'm guilty as charged as well, right? So I get excited. I get really excited. I get an idea, and I'm like, oh, go do it. But then what happens is you spread really thin. And there's only one of you, right? Even with my business, DYNAMO, I actually have 10 divisions, right? So now what I've done is I've put a leader in each of those divisions, and I only answer to one COO that runs everything. So I've basically streamlined it and automated it, so I'm allowed now to go work with the kids. I'm about 90% in working with the kids versus working on businesses that are basically not my purpose. Okay, so think about that, your purpose. When we get in tune with our purpose, and we let, whatever God you believe in, whether it's, from inward outward or from outward inward, doesn't matter. Let it guide you. Your heart is a very, very powerful magnet. Anyone know Esther and Jerry Hicks? Yeah? Esther and Jerry Hicks, very, very wonderful guides. Jerry, rest in peace, he's gone now. He was the individual that allowed Esther to channel this energy called Abraham, and they created something called the emotional guidance system, and this will serve you well. The emotional guidance system has different levels of frequencies, okay? Fear, despair, grief, anger, shame, very low resonating emotions. Love, abundance, joy, compassion, right? Very high resonating emotions. So once again, when we throw a punch into the universe, what's coming back? A punch. When we throw love into the universe, what's coming back? Love. Love is the answer. Love is the answer. So when we go, compassion, love, abundance, joy is true north. Who said that joy is one of the most beautiful things that we can be involved with? It's our guide. When we're in joy, our body tells us when we're in fear, despair, grief, that says, get the fuck out of there. Get out of there. This sucks, right? Listen to your heart. Listen to your emotions. Look at it as an internal GPS. Okay, it's our human GPS. When we get good at listening to those, so there's a book that it was in, Ask and It Is Given. You can write that down. Ask and It Is Given. Learn to manifest your desires. Okay? From a spiritual book, that and The Power of Now by Erdt will bring everything into this moment for us. Okay? So those are two spiritual type books that I've grown from. And then from a business book, there's a gentleman named Brendan Burchard, which I've just actually gone from being, looking at him like, oh wow, I want to be like him, to now having a conversation with him 2 days ago, right? So I'm like, whoa, this is really happening. And I said, my dream is to be on stage with you one day, talking to an audience of like 10,000 or 50,000 people. And these guys bring in like $100 grand an hour, right, to have their time. I have friends that won't even leave their house for less than $5,000 an hour, right? So, I'm at that rookie stage now. I went through the amateurs, and now I'm at the rookie stage, about to go into the NHL of speaking, which is a very lucrative place to be. And the way I'm going to sustain it with flow is give 90% of that money to good causes, predominantly Reviver. But guess who works for Reviver? Is it double? Maybe, okay? Did I, buy a Lamborghini last year? Maybe. But when somebody looks at me and says, hey, you know what, you're an ass because you have money, or you did this or you did that, they don't necessarily know my story. Their perception is their reality of what they think of me. Most people are going to judge me in one way or another. And then I'll ask them, did you give away 3 Lamborghinis last year? I did. So I'm driving one. There's no reason why we have to choose between being a millionaire or being a monk. There's no reason. Long gone are the days where you have to choose between working in a charity position, which doesn't pay overly well, or becoming, somebody that's very affluent with money and toys and rolling up in a Mercedes or whatever your favorite car is. So now it's come together, okay? And that's what social enterprise is. It's about living well and doing good. You don't have to choose between the both. You can be the same and give back more, because at the end of the day, you know, some people say money is evil, etc. It's just a form of energy. It's just a form of energy. All the money that we have now and use is going to disappear. It's going to turn into something else. We may even head to a resource-based economy way down the road somewhere, right? Where we're going back to barter and just exchanging stuff, right? So what I've created is the 5 F word system: food, fitness, family, finances, and fun. Very important in that order, with bonus words, okay, of forgiveness, what Jessica was talking about earlier, okay, focus, and number 1, faith. And it's your faith, not anybody else's faith. Not like, hey, you're going to be Christian, you're going to be Buddhist, whatever, that our parents put us into. What do you believe in, right? So I was baptized Lutheran. I worked in an Anglican church camp for 4 years. You know, I was a leader there. And then I basically now am moving towards Buddhism to learn about kindness and love and the inner game, and that's why I'm taking off to Thailand. So, and that's ultimately your choice. So what I've done is create these tools in order for people to use and see and visualize, because we all learn in 3 different ways. With our eyes, okay, visually, with our ears, right? This is how we hear things, and then kinesthetically, how we actually, you know, work with things. I learned kinesthetically personally. You know, I can listen to songs, but I can't really pick up lyrics because my brain doesn't really work that way. Visually, I'm bang on because I'm a graphic designer. I asked Tony Robbins' son, Jarek, he stayed with me. We raised $3,500 to build a playground for a terminally ill child that wasn't able to leave his house, little Jacob. And it's through a program called $1 Million Smiles. If you guys live in this area, look that up, $1millionsmiles.ca. If you want to get involved with a good hands-on charity, building like farmhouses or firehouses or tree houses in the backyard with a community, kind of like Move That Bus style, where the kid goes to Wolf Lodge and he comes back, and in one day, the entire community comes together. One guy's painting, one guy's nailing, you know, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. $1millionsmiles.ca. So I asked him when I was dropping him off at the airport, that was Ona at the airport, when he was leaving with his new wife, Amanda. I asked him, what's the best way to communicate as a speaker? Like, how do we effectively get our message out there? You know, it's speaking, right? And he's like, James, think about it this way. What if there's a deaf person in the audience, right? What if there's a blind person in the audience, right? How do we communicate in an effective manner where we're somehow delivering all 3 every time, right? That's why I use a lot of motions and moving around and gestures and eye contact, because I don't know if you guys are deaf. You know, I don't know if you're blind. I don't know. Obviously, you're not blind because you're looking at me. But communicating in that way, you're going to have more effect, right? And then that's going to spread because it's going to go word of mouth. So that's why I created something like this. It's like, how can I show this model? 1, that the kids will understand, and 2, that the adults will have fun with as well. It's kind of like The Simpsons, right? You know, the kids, they miss all the stuff, the deep stuff, but there's a lot of deep meaning in there, right? Life lessons. Yep. So the 5 F word system with the 3 power words of forgiveness, focus, and faith, which are not part of this exercise. It's another exercise. I'm going to explain the first 5. It's very important that we do it in that order, okay? We have our food, which is number 1, fitness, family, finances, and fun, okay? So imagine 5 circles, almost like the Olympic circles, but in a circular format, which is the logo of, I don't have it on the card, DYNAMO Entrepreneur. And at the end of the day, these circles, they have a radius going inwards, and let's call it 1 to 10, or 1 to 100, or a percentage of, 70%, 30%, 10%, whatever. So think about that. If you guys want to write this down, food, okay, fitness, family, finances, fun. And you can do it now or you can do it later, and just 1 to 10, okay, or a percentage, just mark down. So like in food, I'm like a 9, right? In fitness, I'm like a 7. I was a 10 before spinal surgery, right? In family, I'm a 10 now, right? So I've worked really hard. I put in the work to be a good husband, ferociously loyal to my fiance, a good dad. Saturday and Sunday, especially Sunday, is for my kids. And I won't take $1 million from anybody to go away from my children. I won't. And just that's my boundary. And what's amazing is the respect you get when you set your boundary like that. you get incredible amount of success. And one of my mentors actually taught me that, a gentleman named Patrick Wazowski and Kasia Wazowski, who were raising $1 million US to do the Reviver movie. So you're going to see the Reviver movie on big screens coming out, and it's the building of this story. And maybe because it's grassroots and it's just growing, I might see some of your faces involved with this project if it interests you to have a conversation, because that is a big likelihood for each and every one of you in here if you're interested. Okay? I'm not even going to say if, because if is not even part of my language. When?
So the 3 bonus F words: focus, faith, and
forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
Focus and faith is the top of your faith, right? Good. So imagine this circle, right? So then at 80% is where we want to be. Because 10 out of 10 out of 10 out of 10 is very difficult to sustain. You might get there, like I did a fitness competition, I got down to 3% body fat, 165 pounds, totally ripped. My first show, you never know who shows up on show day, but I was dialed in. I came to win. Unfortunately, a guy that did like 40 Harlequin romance covers with hair, it looked like Michelangelo. I was like, okay, I'm still gonna do my best. I placed second. It was all good, right? I still haven't won a show, so now I'm actually going back as a master to get that trophy. I'm gonna win a show, and I'm gonna give the 20-somethings a run for their money. So I'm on that mission right now. So imagine if you have those that circle, and we're moving towards the circle to get to the 8. Okay? When we pass that 8, what happens is we become balanced. So instead of reacting and having these huge swings, going back and forth in life, we start to become very, very centered and calm. And then what happens is we become the observer of us. You observe yourself. What am I doing right now? Is this good? Is this bad? Do I like me? Do I not like me? Do people like me? Not that you care what they think. However, when you're putting good energy into the universe, they're going to think predominantly good of you. And it's your job to showcase that to them. If I walked around and I didn't talk to anybody and I just did whatever, people are going to assume, okay, that guy's doing whatever he's doing in the bad side of the world. But hey, it's time to revisit that, look and feel. I am in a part of a bike club, and it's called the Ace Kings, and it's kind of like the midlife crisis Oakville biker gang. It's like the 99 percenters, right? So, and there's a lot more of us, right? So, good guys that, they're all family men. Everybody is a family man in couples, and we go on couples rides, and then we go out with the boys. But because we're all ferociously loyal to our families, we don't get into trouble. But we still look badass, right? It's fun. I just bought a $50,000 bike, and after my spinal surgery, never been on a bike before. It's like, okay, well, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to move forward and past this? 3rd spinal surgery, down and out, 33 pounds overweight, like 10 perks a day just to get away from the sciatica, which now I've conquered that as well. What am I going to do to live again, right? And maybe if you guys are in this situation, pick a goal, pick an event, pick a trip, whatever. I'm leaving for Qatar. I've never been to the Middle East, so in a couple of weeks I'm leaving to Qatar, and then I'm going to Dubai, and then I'm going to London, and I'm going to Munich, right? And it's beautiful the way it happened. I'm going to go to Dubai first, because it's my biggest target, because they're involved in crypto, and Qatar is not. They've actually banned Bitcoin now. But my best friend actually lives in Qatar. He's a Canadian guy, French-Lebanese guy, lives there now. And for Christmas, he sent me an all-expense-paid trip for 5 days. So I'm like, oh, perfect. Okay, well, now that I'm over there, I'm like a step away from Dubai. Then I'm going to hit up Munich and London and build my human capital even further. So we're always combining it. I don't believe in work life and family life and fun life. It's all life. It really is. It's all life. So I call it plurk. Play, work, plurk. When I'm not plurking, I'm not doing it. I'm just not, right? Having fun is key, right? So we'll get to that. So fun for me is a 10.
Sorry, can I backtrack to the Revive video? Like when and how could someone get involved in speaking to that?
Mm-hmm. What's cool about Reviver, it's actually on the card, it's frontwards and backwards, it's the same, right? Because life, the duality of life, it's a mirror, right? Without bad, there is no good. Without light, there is no dark, right? When we learn to embrace our dark side and learn from it, it can actually be useful. A very good book that I came across is, everybody know 50 Cent, the rapper? Okay, I'm a huge fan of 50 Cent. Not necessarily his music, but who he's become. Okay, like he just gave $3 million to support kids in the neighborhood that he came from, which is phenomenal. Like who doesn't want to do that, right? Imagine what's going to happen to his life because he gave that type of magnitude of a gift in the form of giving energy to people that need it, less fortunate, whatever, right? So he has a book out called The 50th Law, okay? Anyone heard of that book? Looks like the Bible, actually, right? 48 Laws of Power is Robert Greene, right? Phenomenal author, Robert Greene, because he just said it how it is. So they created now the 50th Law, which is an extension of that, and it's literally a Bible from his point of view of how to navigate the university of the streets, right? And he says, you know, sometimes, you know, it's good to be peaceful and calm and be happy, you know, but once in a while, if somebody's poking you in their eyes and stabbing you in their back and slashing your Achilles tendon and just constantly, he's like, once in a while, you gotta deliver a knockout blow. But do it in kind of a loving way where, you know, they can get off. You give them a rope, they can choose to climb it and top of the mountain with you, and they can choose to hang themselves. And that's what I do with everybody around me now. I give them a rope, not in a shady kind of way, just like, here it is, open face, all my cards are up, here's your rope. You know, at first I was giving them 100%, glass is full. Now it's like half glass, and they can choose to either earn it or deplete it. And obviously if they deplete it, I just say, okay, thank you so much for hanging out. I hope we both learned a lot, and I know I did. I wish you well, right? You've made your decision, right? It's not me firing you. You leave if you decide to go that way, right? So with Reviver, to answer your question, these kids, well, first off, what we can do is just meet. Okay, we'll meet. We'll talk about it a little bit more depth when we're not actually in this room. And anyone, I'm open to meeting with you guys about this project. It's mind-boggling, phenomenal. And there's a big group of people. It's not just me. There's 10 guys. 9 of them are ex-cons, except for my COO. So if I'm not around, my COO, Neil Cosby, who you guys will meet if you are interested in that, and just having a beer with them or a coffee or whatever you guys want to do, just go and jam with them and see if it's a fit for you. So that would be the start. You meet with Neil.
No beer. We're here.
No beer.
I don't drink, so you don't drink and miss prescription drugs.
Do we have to be cons for this?
No, absolutely not. No, it's not a prerequisite. It's just helpful with the kids in the lane. Now, there's a number of positions, right? You got actual leaders. You got leaders in training, or the two that will run a group of 10 to 12 kids, probably 10. So there's gonna be 4 groups of 10. So you can always put them in tribes, and they can play flags, and they can do all kinds of stuff. But then we'll need cooks. We'll need cleaners, we'll need superintendents. We're gonna hire them from the community. So now the community is like, oh wow, the mayor's gonna be like, hey, I brought 20 jobs to the community, right? So we're gonna look good. First person we make friends with is the mayor. So there's roles for everything and everybody, just like this facility. So think about who's here. Similar concept, right? It's a little bit different. We didn't want to call it rehabilitation because there's really nothing wrong with us. We just got a bum card because we ended up in this circumstance or this situation, and we played our card this way because maybe lack of knowledge took us down a path of negativity. Maybe some wisdom that we gained from that, we now are moving this way. So it's really hard to say which direction we're going in. So there is really ultimately something for everybody at the facility to ensure that we communicate, you know, auditory, visually, kinesthetically with each of those kids, not who are all cons. Okay, some kids are just troubled, right? They're coming out of different walks of life. 4 kids coming from the 13 priority neighborhoods in Toronto, and then kids that are coming from a more abundant lifestyle that had very strict German parents that basically said, you know, I'm out when I'm 15 and get involved in this side of the world, and it's very difficult to get out. If anyone's been involved in gang-like activity, you can understand it's very difficult to get out because you know too much. You know too much about everybody, right? So that's dangerous. So we help these kids leave, and then being the gang of good. So imagine you guys are all Reviver guardians. We have Reviver angels that help spread the message, you know, like Jessica. And then we have Reviver guardians who are there. And basically we just stand there. So imagine all of us standing there, and the kid decides to come through to the gang of good. Okay, so the gang of good. We don't necessarily throw any punches to any gangs or try to disrupt gang activity or criminal activity in any shape, way, or form. The one thing we do know is that the negativity in the gangs and the criminals and the cons, they like to operate in the shadows. So how do we keep that kid safe when they leave us from their own gang? We keep the light on them. You allow them to become bloggers. You allow them to video. Gangs are going to be like, way too much heat for me. Let him go. Right? He's doing good, let him go. Because obviously for 2 years, they're not going to hear anything. Nobody's going to get busted. There's not going to be any, you know, snitching or anything like that. So the kids are going to stay focused on them. and only them, right? So have a meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. So,
So if you guys have questions for James after, we'll take it offline too. Just want to end on time.
yeah, that's a good idea. I get excited, and I really want, I honestly and genuinely want the best for every one of you guys. Every one of you guys. You're all amazing human beings. You know the dark, you know the light. You know, the light is abundant. Living in an abundant world versus a scarcity world is a very beautiful place. You know, my life is phenomenal now. Like, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, where I need to be right here in this moment. And guess what? So are you. So are you. You ended up here because of a choice you guys made. I ended up here because of a choice I made. You're going to end up potentially having a meeting with me to maybe leading to a new life. Right? So, life balance box now, we have our balls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the model. Okay, I'm going to flip it in reverse. Okay, we're going to go fun, finances, family, fitness, food in reverse. And I'm going to show you what happens when you don't do it in that order and the importance of that order. Okay, so we got our food here. And our food, fitness, family, finances, fun. If we start with fun, which is what I did up until the age of 30, which many of us do, you know, I was a little bit of a pleasure junkie, right? I really looked and seeked for pleasure, you know, everywhere I could. So we're going to put it into the life balance box and having a ton of fun. And while you're having it, it's fun, but eventually it starts to catch up with you, right? So golf balls, I got a lot of friends that play golf, you know, wealthier people. We put that in there, finance balls. Family, and a lot of moms are like, why is family third and family first? I'm like, have you ever gone on an airplane and you hear the flight attendant, you know, say, you know, when the oxygen mask comes down, you got little Joey beside you. Do you put the oxygen mask on little Joey first, or do you put the oxygen mask on yourself first? Who says little Joey?
Yourself.
Who says yourself? Bingo, right? You go, little Joey's fucked. Simply, right? It's just the way it is. They need their guardians, right? We have a responsibility to take care of ourselves. We have a responsibility to live in joy. We have a responsibility to guide, to walk the walk, you know, to talk the talk, to walk our talk, especially with us that have children in the room, right? We want the best for those children, right? And those children are the greatest gift. The reason why I'm alive is because of my daughter. Simply that. My daughter's my best friend now. You know, and it was hard because, you know, when my worst fear was my daughter figuring out who I was, right back in the day. I was like, oh man, I can't let my daughter know that I was involved in all this stuff. So when she was 15, I was waiting until she was 16 in order to basically tell her, hey, this is who your dad was. Sat her down at a table. This is short. I sat her down at a table in front of me, and I said, I spilled my beans. I'm bawling, and she's sitting there. Right? I'm like, this is so hard right now. Because the following week, I won the Canadian Motivational Speakers Talent Search, which is how I got inspired to build my own show. So I'm sweating buckets, right? It's a little bit earlier before I wanted to tell her, but I did it. She gets up, comes around the table, gives me a big hug. She goes, Dad, she goes, I love you even more. She goes, I knew half of it anyways. I was like, you made me go through that. Right? So let's put in the family balls. Okay? You know, fitness, anybody play sports in here? Right? Go Raptors. Okay. So then we got our food. Okay, some people, they just don't focus on food, or they think their habits are good, or they're going to change, or whatever. Think about, you know, that Lamborghini. If you're going to put crap fuel in it, is it going to perform well? Right? You're going to put premium fuel, you're going to get a premium performance. So let's put that in, and then we will. I need to get my lid. That's it. Oh man, look at that. It doesn't close. Why is that? So let's try this again. So we'll take our food out. Okay, very, very, very important to eat clean. So I do a technique called 6 days on, 1 day off. I get 3 meals a week where I eat anything I want, and one of them is usually a tub of Haagen-Dazs, like the whole tub. Cookie dough DYNAMO. Right?
That's the
You know, we got our sports balls, you know, use it or lose it, right? It's very simple science. Energy in, energy out. You put more energy in, you're gonna get a belly. For men over 40, anyone over 40? Hormones slow down, right? They really, really do. That's a fact, so we gotta outwit our hormones. Okay, so we'll put that in there. I'm sorry, we're gonna go out, right? Family, very important. So all the moms out there, you know, hopefully or the dads, you know, are focusing on themselves before the kids. And then finances, obviously, you know, it's very important to have some sort of an abundance through finances in order to take care of yourself and your family and putting it into good energy. And then the fun. Look at that, crazy bees. So now let's do it in the proper order. Okay, so food, number one. If there's one thing you guys leave with today, start eating clean. Learn about eating clean, learn about eating healthy, learn about your hormonal balance, insulin, which sends a signal to repair and build lean muscle. Fat and glucagon repair and build lean muscle, and insulin basically stores fat. It's a teeter-totter. It's like this or like this, right? So when we're like this, each and every meal, then we balance ourselves out and we live healthy, right? So let's put that in there, okay? Sports, get involved, use it or lose it. We got our family balls, right, just like that. Finance balls. Anyone play golf? I don't because of my spine, but I love it. Right? And we'll throw our beads in there. Oh, we're getting crazy. Woo! We're having too much fun here. Look at that. Ta-da! Woo! Wait! What's in here?
More
Fun, maybe, or more food in the form of liquid. It's never, once you got everything balanced, now you can be like, hey, I got more time, I'm gonna go to the movies, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna go buy a motorbike and ride around like all day. All right? Never too late to have a protein shake with a friend. The heaviest marbles I could find for Aiden and Justin. Alright? See that? We live a balanced lifestyle and we got all that extra room. Like, woo! So, do you mind sharing just quickly on a final note about the wine and the venom? Come on up. How did you perceive that?
It's convincing yourself that it will happen.
That's right. So he's like, you know, when I do this, you know, I was involved in this, and I want to do this. I'm going to do this. I want to do this. I'm going to do this. So Gary Vaynerchuk, the guy that I had you write down earlier, he gave us $50,000 US off the stage to me for having the courage to get up and ask a question like you did to somebody that knows. And he ended up giving me the $50,000 off the stage in front of 3,000 entrepreneurs at a place called Archangel at the Sony Center downtown. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Everybody else is asking self-serving questions. They got a mic here and a mic here, and you can line up and ask a question. I was actually sitting right here. I'm like, okay. All right, so I get out into the aisle, and he's one of my idols to watch and to learn from already. And I just asked him a question that had nothing to do with me. It was about my purpose in serving kids. He was like, whoa. He's like, nobody does that. He's like, everyone's so self-serving, thinking about me, how can I get further? He took it very seriously. He's like, I'm going to introduce you to the top 100 richest people in Canada and the US, and you're going to do this and this and this. I'm like, man, I'm so filled with this beautiful wisdom and energy of, what he's just shared. I'm like, okay. So then I turn around and go back to my seat. And he's like, dude, wait. You can hear a pin drop. He's like, put me down for the first 50,000. I was like, whoa, it's like the NBA final. You're down by 2 points, and you go, and the bell goes, and it goes in, and it's like, everybody in the room, whoa! Highlight of my life. Started it off. He's now an executive producer of my film, which is phenomenal. So, in a nutshell, he asked me a few questions regarding where he's going to go from this moment forward. And he kept saying, wanna and gonna. One of the things that Gary said to me is, fuck your wannas and fuck your gonnas. And I'm like, okay. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what, he's right. And I asked him, I said, why did you give me the $50,000? And he goes, it's very simple. I'm betting on the jockey, not the race. I'm James Erdt, guys. Do you have any questions? We'll talk later.
Sure. All right, so we only have 5 minutes left before you guys have lunch, so we're going to have to cut it really short and kind of alter this. So I don't know if Roseanne, if you want to change this the next time you get together with the guys. So what I'm thinking is, you guys, we were gonna re-flip your stories, right? So just take the time later today, this week or whatever, and change your story to an empowering context. Like, how many of you would love to share your story like James has to other people?
Awesome.
Amazing, amazing, right? And you have the power to do that with your story. So Roseanne, if you want to take that on, maybe like.
And when you do, your fun meter will go to 10.
Yeah.
If you know your story.
So just really really quickly, is there one or two people that want to share their story that doesn't have to be a whole like James Erdt story or my story, but just something, a little bit about your story that's empowering that you can share? Kind of like,
I'll share.
yeah?
Awesome. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Where should I start?
Anyone you
Hourly
want.
part or
Here to
the?
stand up.
That was nice.
Yeah, good, buddy.
There's no right or wrong.
All right,
All
so
love.
most of you guys pretty much know, I think, my story. You know, I came from a pretty negative place, selling drugs, prostitution, criminality, a lot of negativity, which led me to end up on the street and living down at Sherbourne and Queen in a shelter with 400 men, a lot of mental health issues, a lot of drugs, a lot of crime. But in that place, I was able to find myself, and I managed to get clean in that place for 3 months. I did have a bed here. I was supposed to come here earlier than I did, and I managed to get clean, and I thought everything was all right. Unfortunately, I did relapse. I think I learned a lot more because of that relapse, and which brought me here and you know, allowed me to find myself even more. But one thing that I can say is having faith in something. I'm not a religious person, but I do believe in myself now more than anything. That there's a guide inside me. I was constantly seeking external sources and denying my inner voice, right? And what I've come to learn is that if you connect with yourself and feel good about yourself and be positive, good things will start happening to you. So before coming in here, I had 14 charges. I don't have a lawyer. I don't have money. And you know, I was down on my knees, and I thought, you know, for sure I was going to be either going to jail or, you know, having some charges to deal with, or like not charges, but having some like probation or something along those lines. I didn't know exactly what was going to come of it, and there's a lot more that could come back to bite me, you know. So I was really stressed out about that, but I continued to do the work, and I continued to stay positive. I humbled myself. I kept myself, you know, pretty quiet compared to the last times that I was here. You know, I had a big ego. My ego kind of disappeared a little bit. I still have bouts with it, but it, you know, it's anyway. So, you know, in the past 5 months, I have had all these charges dropped, removed off my back. I've connected with God. I've met some great people, and the joy that I feel today from the outcome that I received yesterday, and you know, reaffirming everything that I've been believing in, and it was just amazing. So I hope you guys find that voice inside yourself and listen to it. That's it.
One more.
You guys have time for one more?
Yes, Cole, just.
Go ahead,
Okay.
go ahead, Dave.
So this is a very, very condensed version.
Come on, come here.
New
speaker!
Okay!
I barely actually speak like on the fly, but I wrote this out quick. So, my name is David Richard Bedard, 44 years of age, born and raised in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I have overcome many challenges throughout my life. I was born with a medical condition which created a sense of indifferences, erupting all sorts of fears and insecurities. My parents divorced when I was 12, forcing me to travel from Manitoba to BC every summer holiday. I was sexually abused at the age of 12, to then be tormented and bullied until 15. At 15, I started using cocaine and selling weed. This allowed me to feel empowered allowing me to take control of self and others. I finally allowed people, especially girls, into my protective bubble, escaping the extreme feeling of a low self-worth. I then started smoking crack and selling anything and everything I would make money off of. At 20, I got a DUI. At 30, arrested for public intoxication and possession of marijuana. I traveled and lived in BC, Alberta, while still supplying Winnipeg. I have been arrested in 4 different provinces for trafficking cocaine and crack, resulting in many years of jails and institutions. And I have now been in and out of recovery for 12 years, now with the direction to serve others, supplying hope.
Yeah,
That's good.
that's a
Hope
good
you-
topic.
There's a song called Hope You.
Yeah, and that was awesome.
So amazing, thank you guys so much. Take the reflective questions and use that to flip the story on your life. Thank you for allowing us to share Flip the Script here. If those of you that are interested in becoming a speaker, such as James, get in touch with us because we would love more speakers to be at different events and, like I said, going into prisons and sharing the stories because it makes a difference, massive difference for people.
On that note, can I just share one
Yes.
final thing? When I went to Syllabs, talking to those 6 kids, the first thing I said to them, and it's the same thing I'm saying to you guys, is I don't care about your past. I really don't. I don't care what you did, okay? You're here in the now, and it's your decision on what you want to do with that. So pretend the past doesn't exist. Who are you now with the wisdom and intelligence you have accumulated? Let's talk about that.
Thank you.
All right, I just want to, what is interesting is when Jessica called me one day and we met at Fresh House for a juice. Over some juice, she talked to me about this idea. She spoke of this man, and I said, wow, this man, this sounds incredible. What great opportunities he's gonna have. And so we started, and my point is that it was about ideas. And, and with focus and determination, we made this a reality today. Over a conversation, over a discussion. And what is interesting is all of us met with the same purpose, and it is to empower other individuals. So I want you guys to take what you guys did today and keep spreading it, okay? And what is interesting is that we've always met through story. This is what connects us, okay? And I want to thank you for taking time out of your day for sharing yours, okay? Thank you.
If I could ask one thing of each of you,
Yeah.
to start the whole flow of giving, okay?
Yeah.
Offer a testimonial to this and the work that
Yes.
they did, and myself and this amazing group of guys. Let's give yourselves a round of applause. Offer a testimonial, one paragraph, okay? It doesn't have to be too much. Put 5 minutes into it, just what comes out of your heart, because that testimonial is gonna empower another kid or another guy that's going through the same shit that we went through.
Okay, can you be more specific about the testimonial? A couple of people look confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, how did you feel today? Like, what did it do? How did it inspire you? Did you hate it? Did you like, I hate that guy's haircut?
Or if, you know what, if you send it to Rosanna.
Just give it to me.
Okay.
That would be great.
Yeah, give it to Rosanna.
Yeah, because even when we go into prisons, they want to see, like, what are you doing? Does this thing work? What's the response? So this helps us.
You don't have to put your name, you can put first name and last initial. You don't have to put your name at all. We can go anonymous, or when you're open to getting into the space and serving people like us, put your name.
Yeah. And those of you that are up for a group photo as well, let us know. And thank you again. Thank you, and thank you, James. Thank you, Rosanna, again for hosting us. And enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.